Hello, good morning. Welcome, guys. All right, so in this session, we are going to be looking at what is accessibility. For some time now, we'll be mentioning accessibility, and let's talk more about it. Okay, it is nothing, it's not a big deal, but it's just that it's not something that we commonly do. All right, I don't think I don't commonly pay attention to accessibility when I'm building applications. So that is why we told you that our goal is to make you a professional. Say, when you're building a web application and you're including accessibility, it shows how good you are. All right. So we are going to be teaching you almost everything that you need to know in each of the courses that you're learning here. Okay. So basically, this is going to be more of theory. In the next section, we can now take a deeper look at some of on how to go about this. But here we are just going to do more of explanation for you to understand what accessibility is and why you should use accessibility. So accessibility in HTML. In HTML, accessibility refers to creating a web content. All right, a web content, a website, a web application, okay? Creating a web content that can easily be used and understood by everyone, including people with disabilities. Okay, so this is what accessibility is all about. It refers to you creating a web application, a web content, a website that can be easily be used by and understood by everyone. Now, it's not only human, sometimes it's not even only human beings that go through web pages. There's something we call assistive technologies. All right. So for some people who are disabled, some people who have impaired vision, some people who can't read, all right, they use these assistive technologies. So the question is your web content accessible to these guys? So if your web content is accessible to them, that means you're accessible, you're doing well with accessibility, okay? So this involves using HTML elements and attributes correctly. You use HTML elements and attributes correctly to ensure that assistive technologies, do you understand? The whole thing is for you to use HTML elements and attributes correctly to ensure that assistive technologies like screen readers, magnifiers, or alternative input devices to make sure that these technologies can interpret and present your content effectively. Excuse me. So when you have these technologies being able to go read and use your application, that means you're paying attention to accessibility. All right. So what are the key concepts of accessibility in HTML? First of all is the semantic HTML. We have talked about semantic HTML. So when you're using semantic HTML, you already know that all these semantic HTML elements already have some meanings that the browser reads to them, okay? They have their intended purposes. Whenever we see the header element, we know what the header element is all about. Whenever we see the nav, the main, the footer. So all these assistive technologies, they also understand these things. So when you use semantic HTML, you're actually considering accessibility in your application. So when you're doing this, this semantic HTML, they provide a logical structure that assistive technologies can understand. So these assistive technologies, they already have a logical structure they go by with. All right. Some people don't just use mouse. Some people use keyboard to go through your web application. So the question is, those people who use keyboard, all right, those people who use their keyboard, the tab, and who use their keyboard to go through your website, can they use your website? That is what we are talking about. So at the end of this session, I'm going to show you how to measure accessibility, and I'm also going to use our platform that you're using to learn. I'm going to show you how we can how we can measure the accessibility of our platform. Okay, so example is this. All right, now a button, the button element is for clickable buttons. Some people use div and span to create a button. It works, but the thing is that it is not semantic. It would work, oh. In short, some of the clickable things that you're seeing on this platform that you're using, some of them I created them with div. Okay, because the div is also clickable, but it is not a button. So now, even while I am teaching you this, I think I am even guilty of that. no matter what, if I want to create anything clickable, I should be using the button. So I can put other material elements inside the button. Okay, so you can see, all right, I'm guilty of that. So whenever you want to do anything clickable, use the button element. Then you can now put other elements inside of the button. So it makes it semantic. So when the screen readers or all these assistive technologies are going through your application, or maybe they are using their keyboard to tap through, or using their keyboard to navigate through your application. Once they see this button, they know that it is a clickable element, and there is a way they work with it. So make sure that you use semantic HTML, semantic elements. Make sure you use semantic elements in all your code, okay? So another concept is ARIA, Accessible Rich Internet Applications. Accessible Rich Internet Applications, ARIAs. Now, what is the use of this ARIA? It's not every element in HTML that is semantic. Not every element in HTML that is semantic. What do we now do? How do we convert those elements that are not semantic? How do we convert them? We use this ARIA to make them, not that we are going to make them semantic, but we use it to let all these assistive technologies, okay, give more meaning to them. So ARIA attributes, we'll talk about that in the next session. Something like the row, the area label, the area hidden. They help make non-semantic elements or dynamic content accessible. You know, you can create HTML element, HTML content. You can create content dynamically using JavaScript. So when you create these contents dynamically, because you didn't create them statically when you were creating your application, they might not be accessible. So for you to make them accessible, all right, you use this ARIA attributes. So if I want to create a clickable button, maybe without the button, I can now use the role and say that the role is the button. Do you understand? So we use this ARIA attributes to make, we're going to talk about ARIA attributes in the next session. So, but we use them to make non-semantic elements or the dynamic content that we create. We use it to make them accessible. Sorry about that, please. So you can see now we are making this div, which is not a semantic element. We are making this div, we are giving it the role of button. So when assistive technologies are going through the web page and they see this div and they see this ARIA attribute, they know that, oh, this thing is a clickable element. Do you understand? And they are using this ARIA label. You know, when we use labels, okay, you remember labels make our elements accessible too. All right, using label is one other recommended way of making your application accessible, especially your forms, your form controls. So here we are still saying that this div is a button, and this div has a label of submit form. So this is what the assistive technology will see this thing as, oh, this is a button and it has a label, submit form. Okay, don't worry, we'll talk about more of this in the next session when we talk about ARIA attributes. So we also talk about forms accessibility. Whenever you're also creating your forms, you should make them accessible. And one of the ways is to always attach associate label elements with your form input controls, okay? So associate labels with form inputs using label element or the ARIA labeled attribute. We also have another attribute called ARIA labeled by. We are going to talk about them in the next section. Example is this, all right? We have this form. We have seen this already, okay? When we were talking about forms, we saw this using label. So this label for username is for this input, all right? So it makes this input accessible, all right? With this, it makes it accessible. Remember, we can still do the automatic, oh, I've even forgotten this. What is it called again? Okay, I might just have forgotten the name, but I still remember the concept. You know, when you put your input element inside of a label, Okay, you don't need to use the for, it's called automatic associativity. Thank you very much. It is called automatic associativity. Okay, so if you don't want to use the for attribute of the label and the ID of the input, you can just put the input inside of the label. So it is by default automatically it will be associated to the input. Okay, so you can also use alternative tests for images. All right. The auth attribute on image tags provide descriptive text for screen readers. We will also take a deeper look on how to make images accessible in the next session, okay? So example, you can see this image now. We are giving, sometimes the network might be bad, that the image might not download or might not show. When the image doesn't show, this auth test is going to show. I hope you have seen some things like that. You don't see the image of the product you want to buy or the image that was supposed to show, but you will now see one small icon, then you now see a description. So here, say a fluffy white cat sitting on a couch. So in case this image doesn't load, all right, this test will be displayed, all right? And even though it loads, screen readers, okay, of course, people who have disabilities, maybe people who can see or read, they can't see your image. So the screen readers are going to read the alternate test here. So always use auth test, although we'll talk more about that in the next session. Keyboard accessibility. It is not everybody that is using mouse to go through your website. Some people use keyboard. So you have to ensure that all interactive elements, links, buttons, forms, these are all interactive. What we mean by interactive is that the users will be interacting with those elements. All those elements that users interact with, clicking the button, clicking the link, submitting forms, you understand, all those elements, checking the box, radio buttons, stuff like that, all right? You have to make them usable with a keyboard. So avoid relying only on mouse action. Now, this is what can separate you from other developers, all those people who say they know HTML or who can build websites. But you can see this is very, very, very important. Well, in the next slide, we'll be taking a look at the importance of accessibility. We are not just teaching you this thing for teaching's sake. We are teaching you so that you would have this. And the more skills you have, the better you become. All right. If you have one more skill, but more than your another person who comes for the interview, you actually get the job. You stand out. So when you're also working with headings and hierarchy, you have to pay attention on how you use them. Okay, the H1 to H6 elements, we use it to create a clear document structure. This helps users navigate content efficiently. All right. So when you're working with your headings, okay, you have to follow them in a structural way. H1 should be the highest, H2, H3, H4 to the H6. So in a page, you cannot have, you're not supposed to have two H1. How would the browser or the assistive technology interpret it? There could be only H1, one H1. There could only be one H1, all right, on a page. All right. So others cannot be maybe H2, H3, like that. So you have to use them well. Okay. Color and contrast. Okay. So you also have to, when it comes to color and contrast, we'll be taking a look at it in one of the sessions. Okay. They also matter. Using high contrast between text and background can ensure readability for users with visual impairment. So you have to use text. Whenever you're writing a text and you're using colors, you should use colors that have high contrast between the text and their background to ensure readability. Okay, so I'm going to do a small experiment. Okay, let me just do, oh, sorry. I wasn't sharing on my screen. Okay, so all right, in the next session, all right, I will do that. Before we start the next session. I'm just going to show you this color and contrast. I'm going to show you how to measure accessibility, and I'm also going to use our platform to show you measure our accessibility. Okay, so descriptive links, whenever you have links, avoid vague link text like click here. use descriptive text to indicate the link's purpose. Whenever you have a link that is going to maybe a link that's taking, that you know what a link is. So don't just do click here. Write descriptive text so that whoever wants to click that link will know exactly what that link is doing. What's the purpose of the link? You should use descriptive links. Now look at this one. Whenever you see this contact us as a link, you know what it means. All right. So you know that this is going to take us to the contact us page, or it is saying that the purpose of clicking this link is that you're going to be contacting or something like that. Your link text should be very, very descriptive. Very, very. All right. Accessible tables. When you're creating tables, also make them accessible. Use the table tag. You know, the table element is semantic. Use the table head, use the table body and the table foot to differentiate, to structure it logically. Use the TH, the caption to make the tables more understandable. All right, we have talked about tables, okay? So there's something we call skip links, all right? Skip links is, because the thing is, when people are using keyboard or the assistive technologies, when they are using, whenever they are reading your, going through your page, they don't need to go through everything. Okay, sometimes you might just, they don't need to go through repeat, like now the header is always repetitive in most pages. Do you understand? Our header, our footer, they're always repetitive in most of our pages. Or our navigation menus, they're always repetitive. So it's not every time that they will, the screen readers or the assistive technologies will need to be going through them. So there's something we call skip links, where you can create a link that, please excuse me. Now, include a skip to content link at the top of pages for users to bypass repetitive navigations. You know, your navigation links, all right, they are repetitive because they're always available in every page. So there's something we call skip link. Skip link is what? It's just a link that you put on top of your page that you actually decorate it so that these assistive technologies will know that, okay, this is a skip link. And once they see it, they will click on it and go to the main page. Now look at this first anchor tag. It says skip to main content. So once somebody clicks on this, it will take them to the main content. So they are going to skip all this repetitive navigation that we already have there. All right. So that is for skip links. So what are the importance of accessibility? Importance of accessibility. Accessibility is very, very essential in creating a more inclusive. Now, when we say inclusive, that means you're including more people. That means as inclusive. You're not just creating this thing for, you're including even those people who have disabilities. So you're creating a more inclusive and equitable society, particularly in technology and design. So whatever you're creating, you're including every other person, and you're giving everybody everybody has equal access to the application. So it creates an inclusive and equitable society, particularly in technology and design. So you're creating for everybody. By prioritizing accessibility, organizations and individuals contribute to a world where technology and services are usable and beneficial for everyone. Now, you might take this accessibility issue or this thing we are teaching you here for granted, but let me tell you a story, how I lost a $24,000 job. I lost a $24,000 job. It was one of these things I took for granted. When I was writing the test, it was more of data structures and algorithm. It is not that I cannot learn or understand data structures and algorithm, but I overlooked it. I didn't pay close attention to it. That cost me that job. So accessibility can cost you that job because you don't know the organization you want to go and work for. You don't know whether they want everybody to use the application, and they are interviewing you and you don't know what accessibility is or you don't know how to implement it. You have lost that job. Okay. So anyways, that is why you need a mentor, and all these bad experience that we've had, we'll let you know about them so that you don't go through them and tell you how to avoid them. Okay. Inclusivity is one of the importance. Accessibility ensures that people with disabilities can use and benefit from your product, your services, and your environment. When you're creating a web application, people with disabilities can also use your applications. So you also have to include them. All right. It promotes equal opportunities for all, regardless of physical, sensory, cognitive, or technological barriers. So that means you have to create accessible applications. All right. Inclusivity is one of the importance. Legal compliance. Many countries have laws and regulations, such as Americans with Disabilities Act or the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, mandating accessibility standard. That means if you're to be creating applications in these countries that have these laws, you must create create web applications that are accessible. Do you understand it now? So if you want to create international application, that means you have to make sure your application is accessible. Non-compliance can lead to legal challenges and financial penalties. Okay, so you see why you should take this thing seriously. All right. For better user experience for all. All right. Accessibility improvements often enhance usability for everyone. Let everybody use the application. And for some people who cannot read, they can use the screen readers. For some people who have visibility, who are impaired visibly, they can also read. Okay. For instance, captions benefit those watching videos in noisy environment. Your caption, when you give a video a caption, all right, it benefits those watching videos in a noisy environment, while clear navigation aids users with low digital literacy. So for people who have low digital literacy, your navigation aids them. Okay? So for bigger market reach and business benefit, if you're building applications that are accessible, you're even going to reach more market and do more business. Around 1.3 billion people globally live with some form of disability. 1.3 out of 7 point something that we have. Ignoring accessibility limits the potential customer base. That means you're losing out on 1.3 billion people. Or remember that we are preparing you to be a global genius. That was what we are preparing you to be. So we are teaching you something that can actually help you become a global genius. And if you're a global genius, you're creating an application that globally people can use. So you should always use accessibility. Accessible products and services attract a broader audience, leading to higher customer satisfaction and retention. All right. So you'll be doing more business if you build accessible web applications. Innovation and creativity. Designing for accessibility fosters creativity by challenging designers and developers to think beyond standard solutions. Okay. So it often results in innovative products that work better for diverse user needs. Ethical responsibility. Ensuring accessibility aligns with values of fairness, respect, and human rights. So at least you also consider people who have disabilities, okay? It demonstrates a commitment to creating a more equitable and inclusive society. So please, when you're building your application, always ensure accessibility, please. All right? All right. It benefits you and benefits others. When you build accessible applications, you can see that it improves SEO and digital performance. Now, you wouldn't want Google to lose out on 1.3 billion people. So why would, if your applications is not, if your web application is not accessible, why would Google include it in their search? Okay, so they will look for people who have built applications that can also reach out to the other 1.3 billion people that are disabled. All right, so accessible websites often rank better on search engines. So if you want to rank better on search engines, you have to use accessibility. So due to cleaner code, descriptive auth text, and logical structure, this is what search engines are looking for. So when you build accessible websites, you are improving SEO. This can result in higher visibility and more organic traffic. And moreover, before I close, search engine optimization is the best way for marketing. Although, yeah, we'll be teaching you search engine optimization in this course, you have to take it seriously too. All right. So thank you very much. In the next section, we are going to talk more about images, area roles, and attributes. Okay. Thank you very much. We'll see you in the next section. Have a great day.